Welcome to HealTV, everybody. I am your host, and today we need to talk about trauma. There's a lot of misunderstanding regarding trauma. Many people think it has to be something really terrible and tragic where they were seriously harmed. That's not true. These things are trauma for sure, but that's not all trauma is. Put very simply, trauma is anything that happens which the brain cannot understand and process, something which overwhelms your ability to cope. Some things may be more easily recovered from than others, but there really isn't a defined set of things that are considered trauma. What is traumatic is defined by the reaction. It's defined by the person suffering the trauma and how they responded to it emotionally, mentally, and physically. Everyone is different and responds to things differently. Some people experience something and they become completely dysfunctional because of that experience. Another person might experience the same thing and it doesn't affect them as seriously. It isn't helpful to put qualifications on traumatic experiences because of that, or to believe that something you've experienced or someone else has experienced is not bad enough to be considered trauma. If it affected you, it did. However it affected you, however you felt, that's how it was. Because of that, things like experiencing a natural disaster or being the victim of a violent crime can be traumatic, but also arguments can be traumatic. Neglect can be traumatic. The silent treatment can be traumatic. Anything that makes you feel betrayed, helpless, confused, hurt, or diminishes your sense of self can be considered trauma, especially if it has changed or impaired your ability to function in a healthy way. There are three main types of trauma: acute trauma, chronic trauma, complex trauma. Acute trauma can be something like being the victim of a crime or experiencing a natural disaster. It's a single incident. Chronic trauma can be something like being the victim of one kind of abuse or one kind of neglect. It's a repeated similar incidents. Complex trauma is when there are multiple traumatic incidents of different kinds. So there would be repeated similar incidents of the same kind of trauma and also single incidents of different kinds of trauma. When addressing trauma or things that have traumatic roots, it's important not to overlook the physicality of trauma. Trauma lives inside the body. It does not live within the traumatic event. All trauma, even emotional trauma, is a physical experience, as surprising as that might sound. The brain does not make a distinction between physical, emotional, or mental danger. It reacts to all of these things essentially the same way. The entire sympathetic nervous system becomes activated in stressful situations as it gears up for the dangerous situation it believes is happening. You might have heard this referred to as the fight or flight reaction or the fight, flight, freeze response. When your sympathetic nervous system becomes activated, you will notice changes in your body. Your heart might race or it might slow down. Your blood pressure might go up. You might start breathing faster or hold your breath. You may start sweating or shaking. Your pupils might dilate. Your body likely undergoes chemical changes like releasing cortisol and adrenaline. Your ability to think clearly may be affected, as might your ability to create and retain memory. You may feel a strong desire to strike out at other people or run away. You might feel paralyzed and unable to act. These responses are automatic and are the result of your brain perceiving danger and or the fear of danger. In situations where the sympathetic nervous system is functioning in a healthy way, the body is able to go through the event, complete the trauma response, and return to homeostasis or balance on its own. When you've experienced chronic trauma, the body starts to believe it's not safe at any time, and the system stays activated, stays in the on position and on the lookout for imminent danger instead of being able to balance itself. It may perceive danger where there isn't any or overreact to small stresses. This can create problems for people in their lives and in their relationships, but because these are automatic reactions driven by a perception of danger, it can be difficult to know how to stop them from happening, even when someone knows that there is no actual danger. The system is so sensitive and so activated, it doesn't seem to matter. Trauma can also become stuck in the body. When your body prepares to fight for its survival, this creates a large amount of energy. Energy needs somewhere to go. If your body is not able to complete the trauma response, release that energy, and return to homeostasis, it may not be able to understand that the traumatic event is over. Since the energy has not been released, it just sits there. Animals in the wild will shake all over after they escape a predator. You've seen them, they're out there, they shake whenever they get back in the herd. Humans also shake after or during a scary, dangerous situation. This is the body trying to discharge that energy and complete the trauma response. If there were times that your body couldn't complete the trauma response, the energy from the events may still be stored in your body. This contributes to the sympathetic nervous system's difficulty with achieving homeostasis. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated in this way due to either ongoing or past trauma, over time it can lead to many different physical and psychological health problems such as anxiety, depression, hyperreactivity, obesity, problems with insulin regulation, stress-related illness, increased risk of heart attack and stroke, gastrointestinal problems, problems with reproductive systems, PTSD, autoimmune disorders, speeding up the aging process, and more. Addressing this is crucial, not just because of the psychological impacts and challenges, but because of the physical ones as well. It can literally make you sick. While it is of crucial importance to address contributing psychological and emotional factors when addressing trauma, it may be extremely difficult to do that until the sympathetic nervous system is less activated. When the sympathetic nervous system is in a chronic state of activation, it can seem to be setting off alarm bells and warning lights almost constantly. It's no wonder that it can be hard to perceive events correctly. It can be hard to think. It can be hard to process information. It can be hard to control your reactions. Our bodies are geared towards survival, and to that end, our brains are set up to make quick decisions without much information so that we can size up the situation very quickly. You could think of it kind of like a mental shortcut. Most of the time, our assessment is reliable, and this works out okay for us. When we see a growling dog, for example, we assume that he's not friendly and conclude that we should probably leave him alone. When we tell our friend a joke and she laughs, we conclude that she thinks the joke is funny. We don't need to approach the dog to find out if he's friendly or ask our friend if she thinks the joke is funny. We can see that for ourselves. If we rely on these mental shortcuts too much, however, it can lead to mistakes in assessment, such as jumping to conclusions or believing that we know what someone is thinking. If our system is chronically activated and hypersensitive to danger, we might find it difficult to be mindful and present, which can cause us to rely on these mental shortcuts even more, much more than we should, and to miss important information. If our perception is affected or we've been gaslit and we no longer trust our perceptions, this can lead us to have stress and trauma responses in non-threatening situations because we're making assessments and coming to conclusions based on incomplete or incorrect information. These are sometimes called cognitive distortions or thinking errors. In order to address underlying factors, it is necessary to first take reactivity down. You can help by learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is a part of your autonomic nervous system that helps calm the body down. It helps it to achieve homeostasis after a sympathetic nervous system response to an event. You can intentionally activate the system in order to help your body understand that a traumatic or stressful event is over or that there actually isn't one happening. Some ways to do this are deep belly breathing, meditation and yoga, exercise, practicing mindfulness and being present, feeling your feelings, progressive relaxation, massage, spending time in nature, grounding exercises such as earthing or showering and water immersion. It's very important to start these things as soon as possible to begin helping your system relearn to regulate itself. Exercise can help your body discharge the excess energy stored over time. You can also help your body complete the stress response going forward by engaging in physical movement after stressful or traumatic situations to discharge the energy your body created when it was ready to fight for your life. Walking, jogging, punching a bag, or even a brisk whole body shake are all good ways to do this, and at least some kind of physical activity can be done almost anywhere, including at work. It can also help you get your mind back on track. If you find that you become overwhelmed in the moment, deep belly breathing will help with this as well, and it helps very quickly. You will feel your body physically relax, and it will become easier to think. Temperature moderation often works quickly as well, such as splashing cold water on your face, holding an ice cube in each hand, running your wrists under the tap. People who have dealt with chronic trauma and abuse may be suffering from post-traumatic stress-related disorders or illness as well. Please reach out to professionals in your community if you find that you're experiencing challenges that are beyond your ability to address on your own. Helping you find ways to bring your system back to homeostasis is what we are all about doing here at HealTV.